Yo, what's going on, guys? Mock draft time. Uh, it's early in the season. Yes, it is week 3, and it is it's heading on week 4 or 5 of the college football season. But I want to get back into mock drafts. I want to get my gears rolling on this now. Obviously, the draft is not set in stone. The Falcons might not get the first pick. The Texans could. The the order is not set yet, obviously, and it also is like a little messed up because the Seahawks are above the Panthers, even though the Panthers are 0-2. But this is more about where early prospects could be going, such as guys like C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, and also some risers, and maybe some conversations we'll have about maybe Bijan Robinson going in the first round potentially. But I just want to jump right into this. I'm excited about the mock drafts. For the Falcons, look, the Falcons, their biggest need has been pass rush. Marcus Mariota is not obviously the answer. We know that. And the Falcons have also not been targeting Kyle Pitts at all. But they should go after edge rusher. For the Texans, in my opinion, do you need to go the best quarterback? I'm pretty okay with Davis Mills right now, unless Davis Mills absolutely, gets many more, unless he has a negative turnover to touchdown ratio and the offense cannot move with him. You could go another route, but you could go with two options. Do you want to have a number one wide receiver, or do you want to have a defensive stopper? Do you want to have someone like Jalen Carter, or do you want to have Jackson Smith-Njigba? Now, we've seen over the years wide receivers going a lot higher, and I'm debating whether it's Jalen Carter or Jackson Smith-Njigba. And for what the Texans are going for, I think that receiver is their biggest need. Now, do they have to go with wide receiver at 2? Could they go with quarterback at 2? Yeah, sure. For the Seahawks, pretty obviously quarterback. I think that C.J. Stroud right now is a better prospect. He's a little taller. He's got a little bit of better arm strength. Even though Bryce Young has better poise, C.J. Stroud is it's a 1A, 1B, and we'll look at it further when the season ends, looking at those results. But these are two teams that look unstoppable right now, Alabama and Ohio State. But with the Panthers pretty obviously need a quarterback. Baker Mayfield, even though they have interest in bringing Baker Mayfield back, if you have the 4th overall pick and you have Bryce Young on the board, can't reject it. And I don't think they should invest that high of a pick on a receiver, especially if it's, Keyshawn Butte or Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison's been doing well, but he's not worth a top 5 pick. Keyshawn Butte had a horrible game. It was in week 2. I forgot their matchup, but it was when LSU. It was when LSU lost to FSU. Keyshawn Butte had a horrible game. He had a fumble as well. For the Bears, your biggest need is offensive line. So what are you going to go with? You're going to go with probably the best tackle right now, Paris Johnson. Tevin Jenkins is, we don't even know what he's been doing. Their offensive line is, on paper, probably the worst or one of the worst. You want to invest in an offensive tackle. For the Jets, this can be 2 different moves. You can either continue, or if you think that Noah Sewell is one of the best linebacking prospects of all time, which he's not, you could go with him here, or you can go with Jalen Carter at 6. This is a Jets team that invests heavily into the defensive line. They drafted in the first round Jermaine Johnson, and even with Robert Saleh in the 49ers, they had DeForest Buckner first round pick, Nick Bosa first round pick. Eric Armstead, I think, was also a first round pick, but he was older then. They invest a lot in the defensive line, and so are the Jets doing right now. They have decent edge pieces, but outside of Quentin Williams, who is on the 5th year, or on his 5th year option, and John Franklin Myers, you kind of don't have anything other than that. And Jalen Carter on that team on a rotation, that's a top 5 defensive line in the league. The Lions, if you want to have a really, really nice wide receiver 2 to pair next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, you could go with somebody like Keyshawn Butte or Jordan Addison. But for the Lions, it's interesting because they do have 2 first-round picks, and if Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud go, and you don't want to let go of Jared Goff, it's a question of what you do. But for me, but for them, they say linebacker, receiver, safety. I gotta be honest, I can see them going with a cornerback. I know they have, outside of Amani Oruwariye, it's just a lot of injury-prone cornerbacks. So we're gonna go with Kalen Ringo. There could be another edge if they want to go with another edge to pair up with Aiden Hutchinson. Easily can see that with a guy like Miles Murphy, B.J. Ojulari. But to move on for the Jaguars, you're doing anything to help Trevor Lawrence. Zay Jones, your wide receiver 2. It really ends up for the Jaguars being Christian Kirk, and that's kind of it for Trevor Lawrence. For the Steelers, offensive line, we're going to go with Peter Skronsky. He looked very good, or he has been looking good. Northwestern just pops out really good offensive linemen. For the Commanders, this could be a few moves. I'm actually interested to see how good the Commanders actually are this year with Carson Wentz, because they won, or they ended up coming back against the Jaguars, and they put up a decent fight against the Lions. But I'm wondering to see if they end up this high at 10, or they kind of be in that middle range. Because if they are in that middle range, they could look for a franchise quarterback. But look, the wide receiver core for the Commanders is very good. So I don't think you need to go after a guy like Jordan Addison. And their edge rushing position, I guess Chase Young hopefully comes back, and Montez Sweat. So is edge rusher the main need? No. Do I think Michael Mayer is going to go at number 7 like he's projected? Absolutely not. He's not. I've seen him play. He's not like a Kyle Pitts level of tight end that's going to go that high. But the linebackers such as Noah Sewell, Trent Simpson, I'm going to lean Noah Sewell. I think he's the best linebacker in the class right now, and the Commanders definitely need linebackers. Secondary, if they want to get a guy like Eli Ricks or Cam Smith, even though that's pretty high for them, I think. For the Giants have... they don't have 2 picks. So the Giants, obviously, they're 2-0. But are they really 2-0? They faced the Commanders and the Panthers. Those are 2 teams that are, they could go either way games. And the Giants' biggest need probably is quarterback, but with those 2 wins, are you going to put yourself in a position to get one of the top quarterbacks, which they actually do need? Because I don't think Daniel Jones is going to... Is Daniel Jones really going to get a contract extension? Saquon probably does, but their biggest glaring hole is secondary. We're going to go with Eli Ricks. Hybrid. Aaron Robinson, I think, is their cornerback one. I know that they had to cut James Bradbury due to cap reasons. If they're going to not go with the quarterback, I think their best move would be a secondary pick. Raiders are looking confusing to me, but this is a pretty obvious offensive... the Alex Leatherwood experiment failed. I think they're good on edge right now, and they're all right on receiver. They need an offensive line help. And I don't know whether I'm leaning Darnell Wright or Matthew Bergeron. They're kind of in the same area. Or Broderick Jones. That's a little high for him. I'm going to go Darnell Wright for the pick. They just do need offensive tackle. And Darnell Wright is going up boards right now. Anyways, the Houston Texans, this is their second pick. I forgot where this was from, actually. Oh, is this the Eagles pick? It might have been. Anyways, so if you go with wide receiver with your first pick in the draft, they should probably go with a defensive player. We're going to go with Miles Murphy out of Clemson. Clemson is doing better than I expected. I think they're ranked 5th right now. Patriots. This is another interesting one because the Patriots are they're looking like they're not going to finish above 500. And, the Patriots never go with their obvious need. Last year, they went with Cole Strange, which was... It doesn't look as horrible as a pick as it used to. But, yeah, no, he was a projected 3rd-round draft pick. And he's doing pretty well. So they're always going to go with a player who's, you don't expect. But, if Jordan Addison goes to... You're not going to pass up on Jordan Addison. What have they been lacking? They've kind of been lacking that outside receiver. And Jordan Addison's one of those slot Y guys who is very deadly after the catch. Cardinals, they'll never go secondary. So I'm debating whether or not even taking secondary for them. I think that... They have a lot of glaring holes, such as maybe a little offensive line help, maybe a little bit of running back help outside of James Conner, who is extremely injury prone. Maybe they definitely need secondary depth. They don't have somebody that can cover a number one. Isaiah Simmons is looking like a bust. They don't really have a lot of linebackers, but they've just been not getting as much pressure, so we're going to go Noah Smith out of Georgia, who I'm actually liking a lot this year. I think he could be somebody I don't think he can be somebody like Trevor Walker, but he could be somebody that has that kind of jump, which he's already having. He's doing very well. Titans they just need a receiver. They just kind of obvious answer. They need a receiver. And you're kind of mad that someone like Jordan Addison goes right before you. And they could also go defense. They've been needing linebacker. They needed linebacker last year. And, yeah, did they draft? No, they did not draft a linebacker last year. So, yeah, let's go with Trenton Simpson. Addressing one of their biggest needs in linebacker. Dallas Cowboys, they need... I guess Tyler Smith kind of is a plug-and-play guy at tackle. And Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, your bookend tackles are always gone. Probably defense. I think this should be probably an edge rusher. If you want to pay, how often on the field is DeMarcus Lawrence, and they're running more 4 to 5 down lineman sets. And if you want to pair somebody next to Micah Parsons, you're going to do that. So they should go with B.J. Ojolari if they have that choice. Bengals and the Colts, these are two teams that I don't see picking that high. I honestly see the Colts doing pretty bad this year. But anyways, the Bengals, they have kind of a confusing team because where is their biggest hole? It's not really defensive tackle. It's not really it's just at that point it's more depth issue. I know that I'm leaning towards Brandon Joseph or Jordan Battle here because they're probably going to lose Jesse Bates. But if they don't, what should their draft pick be? I would probably swap that. I'd probably move that first round pick for another player to try to keep your Super Bowl window open. And one of these draft picks isn't going to do that. But I'm leaning towards right now it's either one of the defensive tackles or a secondary, even though, yeah, because it's debating whether you have Jesse Bates at the end of the season or not. If you don't, you're going to go with Cam Smith. If you do, or if you have Jesse Bates, you're going to go with Cam Smith. If you don't, you're going to go with Brandon Joseph. And I'm going to assume they don't. I'm going to go with Brandon Joseph here. Colts. Look, they have no Alec Pierce. I know Alec Pierce has been out, but if Michael Pittman or Jonathan Taylor goes out, what do? You have to go with the quarterback. They need to stop ignoring the position. And did I not click on Will Levis? They need to actually have a quarterback that they can't, like, they got to stop with the rotation of quarterbacks. It's not good for, one, the system, and it's not good for, two, the offensive weapons. You go from Andrew Luck to Jacoby Brissett to Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Let's try to find a quarterback that you can at least have for 2 years. And I was debating whether to go with Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is kind of an on and off player, even though he has a lot of talent. He's probably going to go. He will go in the mid round. I know I haven't been picking quarterbacks as probably often as I should have, but I'm still waiting to see which top quarterbacks kind of separate themselves, because it really is CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, and then it's probably Anthony Richardson, Tyler Van Dyke, Will Levis. Eagles did a sick job over the offseason at addressing their needs. Their cornerbacks are looking solid with Bradbury and Slay. The receivers are looking good. Good quarterback. And I'm actually going to throw an interesting situation into the mix. Bijan Robinson. If the Eagles got Bijan Robinson, that'd be one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL by far. I know they have Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell, but Brian Robinson is miles ahead of those two. That would be a scary rushing attack. Seattle Seahawks, with their first pick, I had to go CJ Stroud. And the next pick is, you always want to have a you always want to draft a quarterback and then hopefully draft some type of offensive lineman to help it. In the last 2 years, we've seen that with Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, AVT, Justin Fields, Tevin Jenkins. So we're going to go with Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. The Vikings, they could go a few different ways, but they should be leaning defense. Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith right now are locking down the edge, and I think they did lose Michael Pierce in the interior, so I am leaning interior defensive tackle for the Vikings. And yeah, I think I just convinced myself. And I think that Brian Brees is still on the board. Brian Brees falling actually to the Vikings. That's a very good fit. Dolphins, linebacker. Yeah, probably linebacker. You know what? Let's assume that because Mike Gesicki is playing under the franchise tag, and I know that Mike McDaniel hasn't been using him like in that intermediate zone. He's kind of been pushing him either down the field or he's keeping him on the line and using Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in that intermediate zone where he would eat. So if Mike Gesicki does leave, you put Michael Mayer in that offense, and it's like Halloween. Anyways, Ravens. Did the Ravens already make a pick? No. Obviously, they lost a big game to the Dolphins, but I'm interested to see whether I probably would go with Quentin Johnston. Rashad Bateman is your wide receiver one. He does separate himself from a guy like Devin Duvernay, but if Devin Duvernay is your wide receiver 3 and Quentin Johnson slides into your wide receiver 2, you're never going to complain. And Lamar Jackson, that'd be a good offense. Lions with their second pick, I had them going with Keeler Ringo, their second pick of the draft. I forgot where this was from. Oh, is this a Rams pick? Oh, yes, this was the other Matthew Stafford one. Probably looking towards another defense, because I'm liking how their offense is with Frank. They got Frank Ragnow. They got Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown on offense. Do they want to go with a future wide receiver 2? I don't think that's a big need, but I want to do this. I know that with the 7th overall pick, I didn't want to go with quarterback, but we're going to go with Anthony Richardson. That would make that offense very fun and dynamic. And sliding all the way to 25, do I think Anthony Richardson ends up there? No way. I think he's, by the end of the year, probably a top 10 pick. But right now, he's kind of been on and off. He's had a good game, then he had a bad game where he had 3 picks. It's interesting to see where he actually goes, because there could be a scenario where he falls, but then he could jump to top 10. It's going to be fun to see where he goes too. For the Chargers, I know that they hopefully addressed their interior. I know that the secondary looks really good right now with Carr Phillips, Antonio Johnson, and Cam Smith. But they got Asante Samuel and J.C. Jackson. Looking towards possibly maybe an interior offensive line, even though they got Zion Johnson last year to hopefully help with that. Probably no. I mean, hopefully Kenneth Walker isn't that bad, but we're going to go with Henry Tuiyotu out of Alabama. Alabama's looking really strong, and Chargers could use some help in that intermediate zone. You know, we always see Travis Kelce kind of go off on them, even though he kind of didn't. Eagles are up with their other pick, and I'm wondering whether I want to go with a corner. I want maybe a cornerback. If it could be either a cornerback or another linebacker, but it's looking like I probably let's go with actually Jordan Battle, because I was thinking maybe a secondary, but I think their cornerbacks are decent enough, but their safeties aren't. Maybe with the 20th pick they want to address that, but Brandon Joseph did kind of go before them, and I like Jordan Battle as the safety too. So if you can get him at 27, that's pretty good. Green Bay Packers, let's just get Josh Downs does probably go in the first round. I really like him right now out of North Carolina. And the Packers, I mean, we saw what happened. They're really without Devontae Adams. It's not looking, their offense is not looking great, other than outside of Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. They probably go after somebody. They probably go after maybe a wide receiver one in free agency. They do have a few one-year contracts, such as I know McCole Hardman I think McCole Hardman's on his last year of the contract, and also Juju Smith-Schuster. Sky Moore could probably slot into that. And I think they probably I'd want if I was them in that high-powered division. They did draft Trent McDuffie, but you can never have enough cornerbacks in this division. I'm going to go with Cam Smith. I think that maybe Isaiah Forsky could be another pick, or good defensive tackle. I know they kind of are lacking that edge position, so that's why I brought that up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. Pretty obviously, we're going to go with a quarterback. Tom Brady's going to be gone after this year. Kyle Trask is not going to be your Kyle Trask is not going to be your cornerback one. And they could go after one, maybe like Jimmy G next year, or they could go with Tyler Van Dyke if they could draft one. And then the Buffalo Bills, they're projecting them as the Super Bowl winner. This is probably leaning towards maybe an offensive lineman. I'm interested to see what Pro Football Network says. Defensive tackle, unless you don't sign Ed Oliver. Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards offensive guard. Oh, and another, I forgot to mention. Yeah, we're gonna go with guard. We're gonna go with those shoes. I forgot to mention after this draft. Right now, we'll only have 31 picks because if you remember, the Miami Dolphins are without one. They had to forfeit it because they were found guilty of tanking for the Tank for Tua campaign, if you don't remember. So technically, there are 31 picks in the first round, even though the Dolphins do have, as you see here, they're supposed to have 2 first-round picks this year, and they only have 1, which is all right. But that's going to do it for my first mock draft. My information will be more sound as I go over these prospects more, and I'll have more of a direct line of thinking with the teams. I know it's been a little bit jumbled, but it's still early in the season for both college football and the NFL. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Let me know if I should do more of these weekly mock drafts.